Right, gentlemen. Today we are moving on with the time management chapter, and we left off at the sequence activities process, and we did a small little question in which we tried to build our network diagram where we did know the relationships, but we did not know the duration or resource estimates of those activities. And we proved that it is very much possible to build a network without these estimates. So are you really convinced that we can do it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So that was my point, because normally
Yes, sir.
people do not understand that there could be an existence of a network diagram without knowing the durations. But what you do with the durations is not part of sequencing activity. This is basically the later part. Once you have sequenced your activities, once you have estimated your resources, once you have estimated your durations, when you put it all together, you put it all together into the sequence diagram again. Again, on the sequence network, I put the durations, and that is where we use this type of box. So whatever the duration is known to us, we put that duration here, the activity number and the activity details. And as I said yesterday, what is the earliest possible time we can start this activity? This is written in the earliest start. And if I start it on the earliest possible date, when can it finish earliest? That would be earliest start plus the duration. That will give me the earliest finish of that activity. To determine the latest dates, I have to have constraints from the end of the project. What is the earliest date the project must finish? I cannot delay the project more than that. If that could be my latest finish date. If that could be my latest finish date, what should be my latest start date? That would be latest finish minus duration. That will give me the latest start date. So you see, for example, I can do this activity on day 2. These are 8 days activities. 2 plus 8 is 10. So day 10 I will be able to finish it. What if the latest date tells me that I can finish this activity um, to the latest on 15th of the 15th day? Then 15 minus 8 would be my latest start date. 15 minus 8, that would be 7. So what is the difference between the latest finish and earliest finish? Let me write it down for you. Okay, say earliest start is 2, activity is 8 days, so that makes 10 days. But from the other end, I know that I cannot delay this activity beyond 15. 15 minus 8 is 7. So what is the difference of these two? Earliest finish and latest finish. That would be 15 latest finish minus earliest finish. LF minus EF. That would be equal to 15 minus 10, 5. So let us do it on the other side also. What about the difference between latest start and earliest start? That would be 7 minus 2. That would again be 5. So this 5 is the float. This is an 8-day activity, and I have a flexibility of delaying it by 5 days. I can consume these 5 days in the beginning and do the activity of 8 days later, or I can do the activity in first 8 days and then relax for 5 days. So if I put it all together, 8 plus 5 is the total span available to me. That is the duration plus the float. 8 days work and 5 days relaxation. That comes out to be 13 days. Or if you want, this is duration plus float. You want to do it the other way around, that would be latest finish minus earliest start. 15 minus 2, again 13. So This is a confirmation. This confirms that this activity will have a span of 13 days. Right. So you understand all this data? Yes, please.
Got it.
Got it. Right.
A simple
I think there
explanation
is
would be
some.
like that if the span is the duration and the float.
Yeah,
8 days of duration of the activity and the float time of 5 days. That's the
exactly.
total span that we can play around within.
That would be 13. 8 plus 5 would be 13. So we will see it into another. I don't know why my computer is stuck. Let me see that. Okay, just a minute. Let me get this thing back. There is some problem. Right. So we do understand up to this extent that this box can be filled this way. Now we will see how we will move. We will calculate these durations and fill in these boxes for each and every activity. For doing that, we will. I will show you an example first. That would be a filled data in a network diagram, and then we will do some exercise on that. First things first, you must understand that the data which I am showing and which we are trying to calculate here right now, this is not part of sequencing. This is not part of sequencing. This is actually to be done in develop schedule process. So if you like, I can do it later. I don't want to confuse you. But if because we are doing the network diagrams right now, so it is easier for us to you know look at it right here because we are fresh with the networks, so we can start filling the data. Otherwise, I must assure you that this job is not done in sequence activities. The filling of durations, calculating of the critical path and everything is not the job of sequence activities. I'm repeating it time and again. This is not the job of sequence activities. Now let's see. Can you see this diagram? This network diagram?
Yes, sir.
Right. You can see there are a number of activities A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H, and they have got durations in weeks. A is 6 weeks, B is 4 weeks, F is 10 weeks, and so on and so forth. So in the there is a key provided in the bottom, and this key can be consulted if you have any doubts about these things. So the duration column is in weeks. Now let us assume the project starts on day 0. If if the project starts on day 0, all the activities that can start by the start of the project, A, B, and F, they will all start on day 0. So what would be the earliest start for each one of these A, B, and F will be 0. What would be the latest earliest finish? Earliest finish would be 0 in case of A. 0 plus 6 weeks. Sixth week is the earliest finish for A. In the case of B, it is 4. In the case of F, 0 plus 10 is 10. Now let us see when can we start C. Earliest we can start C as soon as A is finished. So A finishes on 6th week. So in 6th week we will start C. And C is of 3 weeks. 6 plus 3 is 9. If you look at D, earliest it can be started is 4 because B has finished on 4. So 4 plus 4 is 8. Now if you look at H, H can only be started because this is a finish to start relationship with both C and D. H can only be started after C and D both have finished. C is finishing on 9 and D is finishing on 8. So when can H be started? Only after both C and D have finished. So we will take the bigger figure because both have to finish as if H can be started. D may have finished on 8, but C is yet going on. Therefore, we will wait for C to finish, and therefore 9 would be the earliest start for H. 9 and the duration is 2, 9 plus 2, 11. So this path we have reached to the figure of 11 weeks. Let us see what other paths are showing us. Let us move from B to E. B was earliest finish was 4, so it was inherited to E. E earliest start becomes 4 and the duration is 3, so 4 plus 3 is 7. On the other hand, F activity had a earliest finish of 10. Now G can only start after E and F both have finished. On one side, from E we are getting 7, from F we are getting 10. We have to wait for F to finish because G cannot start until and unless E and F both have finished. Therefore, G cannot start before 10. So the earliest start of G would be 10 and it is a 3-week activity. Therefore, it will finish on 13. Now, when this project will be finished? From H we see it is 11 weeks. From G it shows it is 13 weeks. The project will finish on what date? Naturally, all the activities must have finished as if the project can be declared finished. If H is finishing on 11th week, G activities are still going on. So G activity must finish as if I can declare the project closed. Therefore, 13 weeks is the total duration of the project. So this thing which I have just done with you, with earliest start and earliest finish, we have done a forward pass from start to finish. We have calculated the figures from start to finish, and by doing this forward pass, we were able to determine the earliest start and earliest finish dates of each activity, thus knowing the total duration of the project. This is the first time we could actually know how much time this project is going to take. Without doing this forward path, there is absolutely no way to determine how much this project is going to take. Do you understand this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So normally when we calculate our projects, when we do our projects, do you think you have ever done network diagramming there?
Yes, and a little bit.
Not
A
so
little
far.
bit. If you have not done network diagramming, how is it ever possible for any project manager to determine the duration of his project? You cannot determine the duration of your project at all. There is no possible explanation. You have to go through a forward pass, and that forward pass at least must finish as if we can determine the total duration of the project. Total duration cannot be known until and unless we have done the forward pass.
Sir, but definitely this forward pass, this entire activity diagram was already made by the entire project. So उसको आपने review ही करना होता है.
No. When was it made? It is the very first time it is in this shape. You have never seen the network diagram before. You have created the network diagram. You have filled in the dates, the durations for the very first time. Before doing this,
Particular activity is being done in the planning stage.
yes, it is planning. We are still in planning.
We are still in planning.
We are still in
इसको
planning.
review हम जब करेंगे monitoring and control में इसको review करते रहेंगे.
Oh, that is another story. Yes, of course, we will keep reviewing it. But right now we are in planning. We have developed the sequence. We have identified the activities, then we developed the sequence, then we estimated the resources, and then we estimated the durations. Now, putting this data together, now because I know the durations, therefore I have filled in the durations into the network diagram, which I already have created. Network diagram I could have created before, but network diagram does not tell me how much time this project is going to take until and unless I put in the durations into the network diagram and do a forward pass. There is no possible explanation that you will be able to tell me the exact duration of the project.
Exactly.
Is it okay with you?
Sir, usually these data are entered in PMI software, and then all these things and critical path is being automatically generated by the software.
Very nice. I was expecting this to be the answer. Yes, I agree. But at the same time, what is a computer program? Computer program is garbage in, garbage out. If your data is faulty, your network is faulty. Computer will tell a lie to you. It will not give you the correct picture. What do you say?
Yes, sir, you are right. But usually we have all the activities and the start date and end date and all of the things. Uh, there is a chance of error, obviously, but that error could be manual work also. If you're doing a manual work or trying to find out the critical path or the duration, the manual work could be wrong. At least the software is more accurate. You know,
How come? How come software is more accurate? Data is filled
sir,
into the
because it's
software by
tested.
a human being. If a human being can commit error, he can punch in the wrong data. And what is the logic in the computer? The logic in the computer is provided by a human being, and that could be wrong. And
Yes, sir,
ultimately, everything could be wrong.
that is yes, sir, that is correct. If the input is wrong, obviously the output will be wrong.
Exactly. So that is exactly what I am saying. Do not trust the computer just for the sake that it is something godly, that it will never lie to you. If you lie to it, it will lie to you. If you put in the garbage data, it will give you the garbage data. Although I trust that the logic for developing the network diagram is okay with the computer program, but do you understand how to fill in that data? If at all you are able to fill in that data properly, then I expect that it will tell you the right duration. But I am taking you step by step. So far, I have just completed one step forward pass, and this forward pass, and I'm trying to tell you, is just by this forward pass, you were able to determine the exact duration of the project. Don't rely on the data which is being given to you by the computer. It can be checked. It should be checked that for errors. You see, I was called once by a company named Y Tribe in Pakistan, and they said that their projects were constantly being delayed, and they wanted this to roll out very soon, and they are already late. So what are they doing wrong? So I went for a audit, a project audit, and the whole flaw was in their schedule. I
Hmm.
asked them to show me their schedule, and they said, "Well, our schedule cannot be wrong, as you are saying. Our schedule cannot be wrong because it is done on a computer." And not only that, they were very proud of the fact that this data was fed in by an Italian expert, and that Italian expert naturally cannot commit any mistake because he has directly come from heavens, and the software is also directly from the heavens, and therefore that could not be the problem. So when I checked the software, I found that there were so many activities which were not linked anywhere. There were wrong data filled into the activity durations and everywhere. There were many activities which were not provided any duration or the relationship. Not, no dependency was determined. And about 10 to 20% activities were such, because this was a very huge project. There were thousands of activities and it could very easily be ignored. They could not see that there are so many activities which do not have any predecessor or which do not have any duration. They did put in all the activities, but they forgot to give them duration or give them the proper linkage. Even if they give the linkages were wrong sometimes. So it is a very meticulous exercise. Even if you are doing it on computer, you must be thoroughly engrossed into it. You must check what you are feeding into the computer, and only then can you rely on it. If you think that you can do a bad job and expect the computer to do a good job, I'm very sorry for that. The computer is not a god. It will not put your mistakes right. So before you can use any tool, you must be capable enough as a project manager to do everything by hand. You must know the mechanism, the inner technique, how it is done, as if you can find the flaws into the computer. I have many times found mistakes with my own network diagrams and the schedules. Small little mistakes which actually, become very big when they are put into this network diagram. Ji Shahid, is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's okay.
Okay, this is just one step that we have done the forward pass. This is called forward pass. Forward for pass is the process in which we determine the earliest start and earliest finish dates of all the activities, and subsequently we are able to determine the total duration of the project. And this is the first time we can determine the total duration of the project. And that what I'm saying is absolutely how it is. I can claim that you cannot ever determine the duration of your project until and unless you do the forward pass. And if somebody says that he is doing a project, he has never done the network diagramming, I'm not sure how has you determined the duration of the project. It must be some kind of a guesstimate. In one of the classes when I was teaching, I told the students, okay, determine the duration of each activity, and they did determine. They were like, A, B, C, D, F, a number of activities. And I said, okay, how much the project will take? Without creating a network diagram, I asked them how much the project duration will be, and they quickly gave me the answer. Can you tell me how did they answer? Any guesses?
Sir, could be a random
Total
guess,
number of
could be an estimation, or could be the highest duration of the activity being considered on a all parallel activities, maybe no interdependencies.
Okay,
It
okay.
will be a longest series of activities, sir.
How
The
do they know?
duration
How do
which
they know
will
without a network diagram that it is the longest series? How can they do that? Impossible. You cannot do it. You just have a list of activities and their durations. Can you find out the
Yes, sir.
duration of the project?
Yeah, that has to be
Somehow forgot the
done via
duration.
network diagram. But if you are, but you mentioned that they don't have any kind of tool or they have not made a network diagram, but it was immediate question and immediate answer. So obviously that could be an estimation, wild estimation, or could be just look at the highest activity, the longest duration of the activity, and the other activities are lesser duration, and if there is no dependency, then all can start at one time.
My friend, that could only be a very good guesstimate, no estimate. That can be a guesstimate, and guesstimates do not work in projects. We are not talking about guesses. We are not talking about high order estimates in which you make a lot of guesses. You know the duration
Yes,
of
sir.
you know the actual duration of every project, and you know all the activities.
There must
Is it possible to find the duration of the project? Only two informations are available: the name of the activity and the duration of the activity.
There's only one single chance that you can find the duration of the project if there is an activity which is the longest activity and it is not dependent on any other activity.
How do you know that?
And
How do you know that?
because you saying because you said
Dependency is not known,
no, there is no dependency of that activity. No?
right?
If the
There's no one
dependency is not known, and we obviously we cannot do it.
if the
Exactly. That is
dependency
my
is not
point.
known, then you can't do it.
That is my point. Without knowing
Sir,
the
I'm not
dependency,
supporting. I'm not supporting that argument. What you mentioned, I'm just trying to give you a wild estimation or a guess at what the other person could have think of, about it.
okay, okay.
Without the dependency. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
So actually, they were all wrong. They were all wrong. This is impossible. This cannot be done. This can only be a guesstimate, and we cannot rely on this kind of estimate. What they did was, practically speaking, they added the duration of all the activities. You understand? That essentially means that everything is in sequence. Everything is in
So
sequence.
that is finished to start.
And everything is finished to start. Nothing is parallel.
Yeah, yeah.
This is very
Okay.
stupid way of considering a project. Projects are not like
Exactly.
that. So this, if you don't know the relationship, the duration is useless. You cannot find the duration of the project just based on the activity durations. You need to have the relationship. If you have only the relationship and no durations, again you can't find how much time this project is going to take. But at least what you can do is you can develop a network diagram without any durations, as we did yesterday. You got my point?
Sir, you said that this durations, finding of the durations and sequencing of this is not part of the sequencing activity. So
Yes,
what is it part of?
it is part of the process called develop schedule, which is coming a bit later. But because we were talking about the network diagram, so I felt it better that we should discuss creating this critical path right here, because network diagram is right in front of us.
Right.
Right, so I have established two facts. Number one, we cannot determine the duration of a project just based on the activity durations. Number two, we can determine a network diagram without knowing the durations of the activities, but again, we cannot find the duration of the whole project. We need to have both these informations, the sequence of the activities as well as the duration of the activities. And by the way, duration of the activity is also dependent on the resource estimate and the cost estimate, but I'm not talking about that. But we have to have the duration estimate and the sequence. As if I can create a network diagram, I can do a forward pass, find the earliest start and earliest finish, and ultimately be able to determine the total duration of the project. That is the only way of doing it, of finding the total duration of a project. Once you have found the total duration of the project, if you have any doubts, we can discuss it more. But I want everybody to be exactly clear about this fact. I've given you some very specific facts about the network diagram.
Clear, sir. Clear.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
wonderful. Now we know that what is going to be the duration of this project. This is the earliest we can complete this project. We cannot delay this project than 13 days. This is the most efficient way of doing this project in 13 days. For now, for now. Now, if this project has to be finished on week 13, then I may calculate backwards from the finish point and try to determine the latest finish and latest start dates. Now, let us focus on the lower fields. These are latest finish and latest start. They were not filled earlier. Earlier in the first exercise, in forward pass, we only concerned ourselves with the earliest start and earliest finish. Now I am talking about finding out the latest finish and latest start of every activity. Let us do that. If finish is 13, then H must finish on 13 and G must finish on 13. The latest finish for H is also written as 13 and latest finish for G is also written as 13. Any objections?
Yes, sir.
By
Why
this I mean,
H is being
Thumb
adjusted
rule
to 13?
Gigi,
due to thumb.
Or why is H being adjusted to 13 if the latest finish is 13? Maybe you have the other one G finishing at 13. So why do I finish H at 13?
because this project can finish in 13 and I do not want to delay it. If I do it in 15 or 16, that would mean that this project will be delayed by 3 weeks. Why do you want to delay the project?
नहीं, मेरा पूछने का मकसद है सर कि इसमें दोनों को 13 पे एंड करना जरूरी
जरूरी
क्यों है? Why not only one of them is ending at 13?
Okay, you see, there are two people and you are assigned to do a job which you can do in 5 days, and another person is assigned to do another job who can do it in 2 days. So that person who has and you cannot take extra time. So the maximum time you can take is 5 days, both of you. So as far as you are concerned, you will have to do it in 5 days. You will have to start it on the same date which the project starts and finish on the date which the project finishes. But the other person has flexibility. He could have started on day 0 and finished on day 2, or he could have started on day 1 and finished on day 3, or he could have started on day 4 and finished on day 5. What is the latest finish? That is 5. That's why we have taken the highest figure. The total duration of the project has been placed on all those activities which are linking to the finish. So I say if I finish G and H both on 13, when should I start? Do you understand my point? As far as H is concerned, if I want to finish it on the very last day of the project, I must start it 2 weeks earlier. That means 13 minus 2, 11. That will be my latest start. I can start it latest by 11 as if I can finish it by 13. You got this point?
Yes, sir.
Similarly,
Got the point,
G,
sir, because you have to go for the latest start time, because if if this project is linked with another project with the day 13 to be the last day,
day
and
13 is the last date.
and you
So
want to
we
know
must
which is the
finish.
latest start time,
No,
then you
not the
have to
start
go
time.
with the latest.
We are more concerned about finishing it on 13th. If I want to finish it on 13th, when should I start?
That's the point. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So minus 2, 11 becomes my latest start. I now cannot start it beyond 11. As far as G is concerned, because it is already finishing on 13, so there is no difference. So even now I am saying you finish on 13, it says okay. If I finish on 13, I have to start on 10. That is okay. Now let us move back from H. Latest start was 11. What should be the latest finish of C and D? Naturally 11. C latest finish 11. D latest finish 11.
sir.
Let us subtract the durations. From C, we subtract 3. 11 minus 3 comes out to be the latest start of C is 8. Similarly, 11 minus 4 for D, the latest start date for D is 7. Let us move back from C to A. 8 being the latest start of C becomes the latest finish of A. So 8 minus 6, the duration comes out to be, latest start comes out to be 2 for A. So that way we can do the backward pass. Now let us do it from G to E. G to E and G to F, both ways we send out 10. So latest finish of E and F are both 10. So if E is to be finished on 10, it must be started on 7. And F, we have to start it on 0. The only problem here is B. because B has got two figures coming, one from D and one from E. D is asking it to start let us start for D is 7 and let us start of E is also 7. Because there is no conflict, therefore we will have the latest finish of B as 7 and -4 would give us the latest start as 3. But what if D had a 7 and E had a 8? What figure should we have taken?
8.
8. Why? The highest figure?
This is the highest figure.
Okay. You see, everything has been reversed. Once we were going forward pass, it was the highest figure which mattered. When we are going back, the case has been reversed. It would have been the lower figure which matters. You understand? We would have taken the lower figure.
Yes, sir.
In backward pass, you take the lower figure. In forward pass, you take the higher figure. So in this case, if it was 7 and 8, we would have taken 7. If it was 3 and 4, we would have taken 3. Similarly, what should be the latest start of the whole project? We have got three figures coming out. 2 latest start is 2. Sorry, A latest start is A 2. B latest start is 3, and F latest start is 0. Which is the lowest?
F.
G?
0F.
F, sir. The
0. So the latest start
The 0.
of the project, the latest start of the project will be 0. Lowest figure. So you see, we have calculated all the latest start, finish and latest start dates. Are you comfortable with that? Any queries, any confusions in your mind? Please clarify now.
इसको सर अगर bird करें कि why are we taking the lower figure
Okay,
for the latest start?
it is exactly the same reason why were we taking the higher figure. Once we were going forward, we said that H should start when C and D should have finished. Now we are saying B can finish when the earliest when the out of the two activities, whichever finishes earliest would be my latest finish. I mean to say, the latest start, the lower the latest start, that would be my latest finish. Got it or not?
Yes, sir. That's my question. Got it, sir.
Okay, if that much is clear, now let us calculate the float for each activity. That is latest finish minus earliest finish, meaning the difference between these two, or latest start minus earliest start, the difference between these two. The start difference or the finish difference. And trust me, they are going to be the same always and every time. Let's go to A. Let's see what is 8 minus 6. It is 2. What is 2 minus 0? Again 2. So this is kind of a confirmation that I have not committed any mistake. You see, here I can cross check. If there is a mistake, then you will catch it by yourself. So if the answer is same, then the calculations are perfect. Once I had given students a very complicated diagram, and then when they were calculating the critical path, there was no critical path. I said, you have committed some mistake somewhere. Go check and you check your floats, cross check them with the earliest, and then tell me. And they found out the mistake. Normally the mistake happens here. When you're adding or subtracting, you may do some mistake and therefore your path will be disturbed. So let's look at C. 11 minus 9 is 2 and 8 minus 6 is also 2. B. 7 minus 4 is 3 and 3 minus 0 is also 3. It is checked. F. 10 minus 10 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. D. 11 minus 8 is 4. sorry, 3. 7 minus 4 is also 3. E, 10 minus 7 is 3 and 7 minus 4 is also 3. So float is 3. H, 13 minus 11 is 2 and 11 minus 9 is also 2. G, 13 minus 13 is 0 and 10 minus 10 is also 0. So this way I can find the float for each and every activity. It is easy
So far, sir.
so far. Okay, now let us find the span. Again, for span we have two ways of finding it. We can cross check. Either add the duration to the float or subtract earliest start from the latest finish. So what does it mean? This is the duration, this is the float, A. Look at A. Duration and float, 6 and 2. If I add 6 plus 2, this comes out to be 8. Right? This is my span. Or if I can subtract 0 from 8, that is subtracting the earliest start from the latest finish, 8 minus 0 would be again 8. Look at C. 3 plus 2 is 5 and 11 minus 6 is also 5. Look at D. 4 is duration, 3 is float. 4 plus 3 is 7. 11 minus 4 is again 7. So if all your calculations are right, then this calculation will be cross-checked. And that would mean that you have a perfect calculation in whole of your network. Got it?
Got it, sir.
Got it.
Okay.
Yes.
If we are fine till now, now you have to analyze this network diagram. Let us see which are the activities which do not have any float, zero float. Tell me which activities have the zero float.
G.
G, that's it?
Yes.
No more?
G and F. F.
G and F.
G and F.
So these are the activities which have no float, meaning what? Meaning that they cannot be delayed. No way, there is no possibility. If they get delayed, the project will get delayed beyond 13 weeks. But as far as A, C and H are concerned, they all have 2 days float, 2-week float. So these activities on this path, A, C and H, can be delayed by 2 weeks, all of them together. This is not the float for each and every activity. A doesn't have 2 weeks, C doesn't have 2 weeks, H doesn't have 2 weeks, but total of A, C and H have total of 2 weeks. If A consumes 1 week, C and H will be left with only 1 week. If C consumes that other week, H will be critical. H will have zero float left with it. So first of all, this is called the total float. The float which is shared by the path is called a total float. And hold the path from start till end. This is a distinct path from start till end, having a constantly total float of 2 weeks each. That means the whole of this path from A, C and H is 2 weeks float. Now let us see the path BD. BD enters into H. So H is already part of ACH, but BDH path, only B and D have 3 weeks float. That means B and D can be delayed by 3 weeks, but not beyond that. So they can share these 3 weeks. B and D can share these 3 weeks. But if H consumes 2 weeks, they will be left with 1 week only. Are you with me or not?
Yes, sir. But if
No, sir.
B and consume 3 weeks, then H will be left with minus 1 weeks?
No, we don't
Okay.
go for minus. That will be delayed. As soon as we consume 2 weeks of H,
Yeah.
project is critical. And if it is if we consume any further, then negative float does not exist actually. That means you have been delayed. If there is a negative float written somewhere, that means you have been delayed already. How can you be delayed in planning? You cannot be delayed in planning. In planning, it should never be minus.
Okay, sir.
So B and D can consume 2 weeks, 1 week extra than H. H can have 2 weeks. B and D can have an extra week. Meaning what? If H does not consume its 2 weeks, B and D can enjoy 3 weeks float. Similarly, B, E, and G. If you look at B, E, and G, G is already a part of FG with a zero float, which is a critical path. This FG is a critical path. So that means G cannot be delayed anyways. But B and E, they enjoy a 3-week float together. So they can share 1 week by B and 2 weeks by E or whatever, in whatever combination they do it, but they can consume 3 weeks. So this is a very intricate business, but one thing is sure, that there will be critical activities in your network diagram which cannot be delayed. Number two, the critical activities will always form a path from start till end. Like you see, this path starts then goes through F, goes through G till finish. So critical activities must create a path, and this path is called a critical path. So any activity on the critical path is not allowed to delayed. Any activity on critical path, if delayed, is going to delay the project, which we don't want. So do you understand the point that critical activities will reside on a critical path, and that there definitely will be a path, at least one path with zero float throughout from start till end. In any kind of network, whatever problem I can give you, that will always have at least one critical path.
डेफिनेटली सर, मतलब जो भी पाथ विदाउट फ्लोट जाएगा,
बिल्कुल
क्रिटिकल बन जाएगा.
बिल्कुल बन
वो
जाएगा.
एक ना एक तो जरूर होगा ना.
एक ना एक जरूर होगा. Always and every time there will be one critical path, at least one. Okay, when I say at least, do I mean that there could be more than one critical paths?
Of course there
Yes,
can.
sir.
Okay, can you give me an example of two critical paths?
Sir, sometimes it may possible that we have some other sequence.
Okay,
Means that is also means that total float of that path is also 0, but that also leads to the finish state, which is same as means as
okay.
per the previous one. So that will be also critical path.
I agree with you. If there are two paths with zero float, there is one path with zero float, there is yet another path with zero float, then it is an example of two critical paths, and there could be any number of critical paths, right? But what
So
will be
in
the
this case,
duration of the other path?
BEG,
Ji, what will be the
Voice was
duration
not
of
clear.
the other path?
Sorry, sir, I didn't get you. Means what do you want
First
to say?
critical path which we found was FG. There is another critical path, FG,
Okay.
13 weeks. What should be the duration
the
of the
Okay.
other path?
BEG,
Ji?
सर ये होगा
BEG.
सर, उसका भी
No,
13
forget about
क्रिटिकल
BEG.
पाथ का.
But if there is another critical path, BEG is not critical path. Right now, BEG is not a critical path. G is a critical activity, but BEG is not a critical.
The same number of weeks, because they are all going to finish on the same date.
Right. So if everybody understands this, that if the critical path duration or the total duration of the project is 13 weeks, then there could be more than one path with 13 weeks duration. And if there are more than one path with 13-week duration, this is the longest duration, that means all those paths are critical. And all the activities on those paths will be the critical activities.
Exactly.
Now, let us assume that ACH is also equal to 13 weeks. So ACH is also critical, FG is also critical. Then what is the impact on the project? More critical paths, what is the impact on project?
Risk is increased.
Jay?
Risk is increased.
Risk increases and uncertainty is very high. We cannot delay, we have got F, E, G, A, C, H. Now we have 6 activities out of 8 which are critical. Whereas in the first case, we had only 2 activities critical. Now we have got so many activities, 5 activities out of 8 which are critical, A, C, H, B and G. 5 activities are critical. That increases the risk and I should decide whether I should take this much risk or should not. Such risky project, should it be done or should it not be done? So this is not a good thing that you have many critical paths, but it is very much possible that in your project you find there are more than one critical path, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, any number of paths could be critical. But as the number of critical paths increases, your project becomes more impossible, is more threatened, is more risky in nature. Then some authors like Rita Mulcahy and some other people say that naturally we have to take care of the critical path very intricately, but we also must see which is the next critical path. Next critical. Actually, this term is not right. They call, some people call it the next critical path, and some people call it the near to critical path. Well, you can call it whatever you want, but there is only one critical path. There is no other critical path. What they mean by saying that is that if this is 13 weeks duration, what is the next highest figure? Say that is ACH 11 durations. So they say that if you have to take care of FG more intimately, then probably with a little less level of intimacy, you may have to also cater for AC and H because they are also prospective candidates to become critical at some stage. But yes, I don't disagree with that, but calling it a critical path is not a valid statement. It may be confusing for some. If I say near critical path is ACH, then probably people may mistake it for a critical path and start considering it more intimately than FG.
So this is perhaps for prioritizing all the activities.
Yeah,
The first priority, second priority, third priority.
of course,
For your monitoring and control.
of course. So that's that. So look at this diagram very carefully and tell me if there is anything you do not understand, because after this we are going to do a numerical. Be sure that you understand each and every step I have taken. If you like, I can revise it. I have filled in the duration. After the network diagram was created, I have filled in the duration. I have filled in the earliest start and earliest finish in a forward pass for all activities. That gave me the total duration of the project. Taking that total duration, I have filled it in a backward pass in the last activities and then calculate it backwards, finding the latest finish and the latest start. Once I have done that, I have calculated the float for each activity. That was cross-checked. I did the difference between the latest finish and earliest finish, and also cross-checked it by finding the difference between latest start and earliest start. That would give me the float. Then I determined the span. Span was duration plus float for every activity, and it was cross-checked by subtracting earliest start from latest finish. Once I have done that, after this the data was complete. Then I found out which activities have zero float. Then I found out that whether these activities are connected from start to end. If they are connected, then this path is called critical path, and these activities are called critical activities. There could be more than one path, and there could be more than one critical paths. Therefore, such a case in which there are more than one critical path, the risk would have increased. This is a summary of what I taught you. So are you ready for the numerical?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll again write down the data for you. Okay, you have to create the network diagram. You have to draw the whole thing, complete thing. A, no predecessor. A is of the duration of 5 days, and okay, let me do it again. A, 5 days, no predecessor. B, 7 days, no predecessor. C, 6 days, predecessor is A, relationship is finished to start. D, 3 days, B, predecessor finished to start. E, 8 days, predecessor is B and C. This is finished to start plus 1. This is finished to start. F, 4 days, I'm sorry, this is slightly difficult to write here. Okay, the predecessor is D, and this is start to start. Then we have got G, which is 7 days, and this has E as finished to start. That's it. This is the data. So I read it out to you. A is 5 days, no predecessor. B, 7 days, no predecessor. C, 6 days. A is the predecessor and the relationship is finished to start. D 3 days. B is the predecessor and it is finished to start. E is 8 days duration. There are two predecessors, B and C. With B it is Fs plus 1 and with C it is Fs. F 4 days. D is the predecessor and the relationship is start to start. G 7 days. Predecessor is E and relationship is finished to start. Note down the data. Start drawing it. Anyone got anywhere?
सर अभी तो नेटवर्क डायग्राम ही बन रहा है। इसका एंड कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा।
क्या समझ नहीं आ रहा सर?
इसका एंड मतलब द प्रोजेक्ट comes to a close with क्या 2 activities या
एफ के जी के बाद कुछ नहीं है ना, तो जी तो एंड में
बाद
चला जाएगा। इसके अलावा
नहीं
एफ
वो
जो है
मैंने
उसके आगे भी कुछ नहीं है, एफ भी एंड में चला जाएगा।
हाँ तो ये दोनों एंड में आ जाएंगे।
हाँ जी, आ जाएंगे दोनों।
अच्छा 2 आउटपुट्स आ गए इसकी प्रोजेक्ट की।
जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
ठीक है।
डाटा तो नोट कर लिया ना सबने? मैं डाटा मिटाने लगा हूं।
नोट कर लिया सर, डाटा नोट कर लिया। तो 26 आ रहा है सर जी का और 14 आ रहा है।
जी का कितना आ रहा है सर?
26
26। ठीक। और बैकवर्ड चलाएं अभी से।
कहाँ से लेने के 26 से लेटेस्ट फिनिश क्या लिया जाए?
26 होगा ना लेटेस्ट फिनिश।
नहीं वो तो अर्लीस्ट फिनिश आ गया ना सर।
एक तरह से 26 है, एफ को भी 26 कर देना, एफ का लेटेस्ट फिनिश भी 26 कर दें।
अच्छा एफ का 26 कर दें और जी का तो रहेगा ही 26।
नहीं, अभी वो डी और एफ में आप गड़बड़ करेंगे मुझे पता है।
नहीं डी डी से पीछे है, मेरा मतलब है एफ अगर 14 है
हाँ
उसका
जी।
लेटेस्ट फिनिश 26 कर दें, यही हो सकता है ना मैक्सिमम। क्योंकि अगर आप कोई फिल बदी डेट नहीं देते तो फिर हम ही डेट लेंगे।
नहीं नहीं, डेट तो क्या मैंने दी हुई है, सारी डेटें तो दी हुई हैं, कोई चीज तो कम नहीं है।
नहीं मेरा मतलब है सर 26 आ रहा है ना जी का,
हाँ जी।
तो इसका मतलब वो अर्लीस्ट फिनिश 26 हो सकता है।
लेटेस्ट
तो अब
फिनिश,
हम
लेटेस्ट फिनिश 26 होगा।
मैं सिर्फ फॉरवर्ड पास बात कर रहा हूँ, जी का अर्लीस्ट फिनिश क्या रहा है?
जी का अर्लीस्ट फिनिश 26 है ना जी।
26 है।
जी हाँ।
तो अब हम उसको लेटेस्ट फिनिश पे लेके जाएं तो या तो आप
वो भी
कहें कि
26 ही होगा
26
ना।
वो भी 26 हो गया।
हाँ जी।
अब
ये
26 अगर मैं एफ के साथ 26 लेके करें ना,
आप किधर को जा रहे हैं, उधर से आगे?
अब तो बैकवर्ड पास में जाएंगे ना।
जी, जी से कहाँ जा रहे हैं? जी, जी से जा रहे हैं ना।
जी से भी जाना होगा और एफ से भी जाना होगा। जी के अंदर तो क्रिटिकल है, मतलब उसको तो कुछ होगा ही नहीं, फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा।
जी की तो ठीक है बात, दूसरी तरफ से जाए ना। एफ में
दूसरी तरफ से
ये
फर्क
26,
पड़ेगा, दूसरी तरफ से आपको 22 बन गया।
एफ में नहीं 22 कैसे बन गया?
नहीं 22 बना नहीं, मेरा मतलब है एफ को जब क्रॉस करेंगे तो 22 बना,
हाँ जी,
जब डी को क्रॉस करेंगे तो
22 बना।
19 बन गया।
डी में क्या आएगा?
सर
डी में क्या आएगा? डी में
सर डी में आएगा 19।
डी में 19 आएगा, वो क्यों?
मतलब उसमें से 3 वीक्स की एक्टिविटी है ना, तो उसका लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट जो है वो 19th वीक होगा, और जब 7 वीक्स की एक्टिविटी आपने गुजारनी है बी वाली, तो उसके लिए लेटेस्ट होगा 12th वीक, यानी कि लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट जो है आपका 12th वीक में आप बी को स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं।
लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट डी को मैं कर रहा हूँ 19 को करूँ स्टार्ट। अब ये कह रहे हैं कि डी का लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट 19 होगा,
19 होगा, और बी का बी फॉर बॉम्बे का लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट 12 होगा।
गलत हो गया ना सर। 22 जो इधर आप देखिए, एफ से 22 जा रहा है, स्टार्ट टू स्टार्ट है, तो अगर एफ 22 है तो डी का जो लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट है वो भी 22 होगा।
ओ गलती हो गई सर,
22 जमा 3 इधर आ
आपको
जाएगा,
छोटा लेना है वहां,
फिर ये 22 पीछे जाएगा।
22 नहीं होगा, फिर उसका 10 होगा।
नहीं नहीं 10 क्यों होगा?
आपने
ये
कहा ना
22
छोटा
जो
वाला
है
लेना है।
लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट ऑफ एफ गोज टू लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट ऑफ डी।
ठीक है, वो 22 ही आ गया।
अच्छा, हाँ वो आप ठीक कह रहे हैं, आप ठीक कह रहे हैं कि बी के लिए 10 होगा, 11 माइनस 1 10 होगा यहाँ पर।
एक किसका आ गया? एक तो किसी का भी नहीं।
एक तो कोई नहीं आया।
हाँ तो वो 11 माइनस 1 तो कोई भी नहीं है सर।
ये है ना 11। ई जो है, ई का लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट क्या था? 11। ई का लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट
का लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट है
11 है। 11 से एक लाइन बी को आ रही है, और वो जो उधर से आएगा 11 में से एक माइनस करें, क्योंकि एफ एस प्लस 1 था, वापसी पे -1 हो जाएगा। मैं
अच्छा
ई
सॉरी,
से बी को वापस आ
11 माइनस 7 होगा फिर।
7 क्यों? 11 में से देखें, ई अगर 11 को खत्म शुरू होता है, तो ये तो बी के एक दिन बाद शुरू हो रहा है ना। ई अगर 11 को लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट होता है तो वो तो एक दिन बाद शुरू होना था, इसका मतलब है कि बी को 10 को होना चाहिए।
एफएस प्लस 1 वाली कंडीशन लगाई नहीं मैंने, सॉरी।
हाँ, +1 को -1 करें तो वो 10 आ जाएगा। ई की तरफ से 10 है
10 में से 7 गुजरेंगे तो ये 3 रह जाएगा
जी, और डी से इसलिए
डी का
नहीं आया कि
लेटेस्ट
एक तरफ से 10 आ रहा है और डी की तरफ से 22 आ रहा है, तो 10 इज द लोअर फिगर, इसलिए वी हैव टेकन 10। 10 - 7 इज 3।
ठीक है सर, ठीक है, गॉट इट। डी का लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट जो है वो 19th वीक होगा। डी का डी फॉर डेल्टा, इसका
ना
लेटेस्ट
ना
स्टार्ट
ना
19th
ना,
वीक
मैंने
में
अभी
होगा।
आपको बताया कि एफ का लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट जो है वही डी का लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट बनेगा। 22 है एफ का लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट, तो ये स्टार्ट टू स्टार्ट है ना, तो यही 22 यहां से चल के डी के स्टार्ट में आ जाएगा। 22 विल बी द लेटेस्ट स्टार्ट ऑफ डी। फिर रह जाएगा कि इसका फिनिश कैसे फाइंड करें, तो 22 में 3 जमा करें तो 25 आ जाएगा।
ये दो जो कंडीशन है स्टार्ट टू स्टार्ट वाली ये नहीं लगाएंगे इसमें।
जी जनाब।
जी सर।
आपको अदिल साहब, आप तो क्लियर हो गए ना?
जी सर, हो गया क्लियर।
ओके, बाकी लोग बिल्कुल खामोश हैं। मुझे ये बताएं कि जो डायग्राम मैंने बनाया है आपके सामने, किसी को समझ आया कि नहीं आया? जी जनाब। आतिफ।
समझ ऑलमोस्ट सेम।
ऑलमोस्ट से क्या मतलब है? मुझे क्लियर करें कहां पे गड़बड़ है। यू मस्ट बी 100% क्लियर।
सेम है सर, सेम है सर।
Okay. Mubin? Mubin, any problems?
Actually, sir, I'm sorry, मैं आपको पूरी तरीके से follow नहीं कर पा रहा। उसकी reason ये है कि जब यूएस जाना है, I will go and review it and inshallah, like every lecture मुझे 100% समझ आ गई, बाकी तमाम subject की उसकी lectures की ये भी इंशाल्लाह में है। और the way you work और मुझसे तो मुझे सारी इसकी थोड़ी सी है ambiguity, लेकिन मैं इसको रिव्यू करूंगा तो आ जाएगी।
Okay. I will explain it again for you, but we must be very clear. We should not leave it there. Idris, how have you understood?
It's clear, sir. For me, it's clear. No issue.
No issue. Wonderful. Shahid? Shahid, how is it? Okay, for everyone, I'll just, do it again. First of all, look at the connectivities. Have you made the same connections as I have made? You see from B to E, we have Fs plus 1. From B to E, we have Fs plus 1. So I write Fs plus 1 on it. I get this line out of B from its end, from its finish spot, and enter it into the start, that is finish to start, with a delay of 1 day. Similarly, the start to start relationship between D to F, that is from start of D, a line goes out and enters into the start of F. So everybody is clear about drawing these lines. Next thing is, I have placed the durations on top of every box. Now, starting the forward pass, let's move on to A, starting from 0, 0 plus 5, 5. C starts at 5, 5 plus 6, 11. E starts at 11, but E has got another arrow coming from B, which is Fs plus 1. So what about that? That gives us, let's calculate B. B is 0 plus 7, 7. And if I add 1 Fs plus 1 on it, it becomes 8. So from B side, I get 8. And from C side, I get 11. So out of 8 and 11, 11 is a higher figure. So I take 11. 11 plus 8 duration, 19. And 19 goes to G, 19 plus 7, 26. From the other side, B to D, when I go there, I have 7 as a start of D, 7 plus 3 is 10, 10, and then D and F has a start to start relationship. 7 from the start of D should be the start of F. So F start date is 7, 7 plus 4 is 11. Now we know that from the upper path we have 26 days and lower path is 11 days. So let us have the 26, start calculating the backward path. The duration of the project is 26. Let's start calculating the 26, the backward pass. Let's put 26 in G and F. First, let us go to G. G, 26 minus 19, minus 7 is equal to 19. 19 goes to E. E, 19 minus 8 is 11. 11 goes to C. 11 minus 6 is 5. 5 goes to A. 5 minus 5 is 0. Then we go to F. 26 goes to F. 26 minus 4 is 22. But because the relationship with D is SS, therefore the 22 from here moves to the latest start of D. It also becomes 22. Because there is no connection between the finish of D and F, therefore there is no line there. The only line is start to start. Therefore, the start of D becomes 22. So we don't know the finish. So we calculated 22 plus 3 is 25. Now, as far as B is concerned, it could get 22 from D, or it could get from something from E. E is starting on 11, but because E can only start one day after B, therefore we will subtract 1, that from E side we are getting 10 as the latest finish of B. From D side we are getting 22. Whichever is lowest, 10 is lowest. So we will put 10 here. 10 minus 7 is 3. So this is how our whole thing becomes. Now let us see, this is our critical path. First let me calculate the float. 0, this is 0, this is 0, this is 0, this is 0. Therefore this is my critical path. As far as this is concerned, we have got a float of 3 days here. We have got a float of 15 days here and 15 days here. Right? And if you want to calculate the span for G is 7, 8, 6, 5, 7 plus 3 is 10, 15 plus 3 is 18, 15 plus 4 is 19. Are you with me? So we already have
Yes, sir.
calculated the critical path. This is the critical path. And we see that in this area, in these two activities, the float is 15 days. For B activity only, the float is 3 days. Got it? Jinjana Mubi,
Yes, sir.
are you okay with it?
Yes, sir. Very good. Yes, sir.
So no matter what kind of network diagram is presented to you, I have given you a difficult network diagram. This is not an easy network diagram. Anybody cannot do it. I can assure you, anybody who will try to attempt it will not do it right the first time. But because we have studied it in that much detail, we understand it, therefore I expect you to be able to do questions of this difficulty level. Trust me, if you can do this, you can do anything in network diagramming. We have not used computer, we have not used any MS project or anything, but this is the knowledge you have gained. And if you have this kind of knowledge, probably nothing can beat you. This is what the ultimate in network diagramming is. Okay, one more thing. Tell me, if somebody tries to tell you that you have to reduce this duration of this project from 26 to 20 days, and you have to crash the project, crash the activities. Which are the activities should you crash? If you want
Critical
to
path.
reduce the duration
Reduction.
by 6 days,
Critical.
critical. But that's exactly what I wanted to tell you, that crashing is done on the critical path, right? You see, BDF path is taking just 11 days. So it has got a lot of float, 15 days float it has got, a lot of float. Whereas ACEG cannot be delayed, none of those activities. So if at all I have to cut duration, I have to reduce the duration, that can only be done from ACEG. So which activity should I target the most? It could be the target, the activity with the highest figure. Maybe E is the best candidate for that.
Oh.
So this way I will try to reduce the time. Maybe I have to reduce it by say 6 days. So maybe I take out 2 days from here, 2 days from here, 1 from here and 1 from here, and then the new durations could be 4 days, 5 days, 6 days and 5 days. You see, this way I will be able to complete my project in 20 days. Right. Are you all comfortable with this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I am erasing this. and I'm going back to the slides. All right, so we have talked about the dependencies. Dependency determination, that is the finish to start, whatever kind of dependency you have. There are actually two types of dependencies. One are the mandatory dependencies and other are the discretionary dependencies. Okay, there is a requirement from Atif that we should do another exercise of this sort. Okay. What I can do is I can give you the data, and what if you can bring it tomorrow and discuss it with me when we are sitting here tomorrow. I'll give you some data, and we'll talk about that tomorrow, because you should have some time to solve it by yourself, right? So by the end of this lecture, I'll give you the data, an exercise you should do on your own. Right. The mandatory dependency is the one which is required by, which is physical limitation, which is required by the technical reasons. I cannot do certain thing due to certain limitations. So this is technical difficulty, technical dependency, technical limitation due to which I can't do something. So that is something mandatory. But sometimes there is no mandatory dependency, but we create our dependency by ourselves, by our own discretion. Like I said, until and unless all the activities of phase 1 are complete, I will not allow you to start any activity from phase 2. Although this could have been done, but to exercise better control over my project, I have made it a rule. I have used my discretion and I have imposed this rule on you that you will not be allowed to start any activity from phase 2 until and unless phase 1 has been approved. This is a discretionary dependency. This could be a preferential logic, soft logic, or preferred logic, whatever logic you use. This is a discretionary dependency. Then we could have dependencies coming from outside of the project environment or inside of the project environment. They are called external and internal dependencies. There could be some other tools which could be used and which are not commonly used otherwise, like there is a tool by the name of GERT, Graphic Evaluation and Review Technique. There is a very famous tool, PERT, Programming Program Evaluation Review Technique. We will talk about PERT later, but you see, GERT is not generally used, but you should know the name of it. It is a graphical technique. Then we have got a system dynamics model in IT projects. Then we can also use some networking templates, etc. Leads and lags I have already discussed with you. Right, coming over to the estimate activity resources. Naturally, we have already talked about that we have to calculate the resources for each and every activity. If you have an activity to construct a wall, what all are the resources you require for that? I think you are the best judge to calculate what all are the resources required. That resources could include the material, human resource, equipment, supplies. Maybe you need to have some cement, you need to have some, sand and bricks and, some tools and maybe some people to work on it. So you can have a fairly good guess, fairly good estimate, rather, I would say. If the job is clear, your estimate could be very clear. Again, I would say just saying 100 man hours is not really very fair with it, because it does not represent the tools and materials and everything. So try to come up with a realistic thing. But at the same time, rather than telling me that this is a 100 man hour job, let us be very specific and say what is the minimum acceptable number of people which could be employed on this work, and what is the maximum acceptable number of people which could do this work. If there is a 40 feet wall and I say 100 man hours, 100 man hours could mean that one man can do it in 100 hours, or 100 men can do it in 1 hour. Both of these are very unrealistic kind of interpretations. So 100 man hour is open to interpretation, which is not really good, but the fact lies somewhere in between. I know this wall cannot be constructed by less than 2 people. So at least 2 people must be employed on this wall. Less than that would not be beneficial, will not be possible. And maximum number of people I can employ in this wall to proficiently and efficiently work would be how much? How much space is required by one person to work? Maybe it is 5 feet. So I cannot employ more than 8 people in a 40 feet space. Therefore, I have a flexibility of employing 2 to 8 people for construction of this wall. Now, this will be dependent on the restriction on duration or the cost that will dictate exactly how many people will be made available. But at least I have estimated that I can employ 2 to 8 people. I would require this much equipment and all that, and this was material. This all I could estimate here. So this is called estimate activity resources. This has to be coordinated with the cost estimation and to some extent with the duration estimation. Therefore, here what we get as input is the schedule management plan naturally, because that tells us how to do it. Activity list and attributes, this is from the define activity process we get, but you see we do not get the milestone list, which I explained yesterday that milestone list is not required to go anywhere except sequence activities. So that has served its purpose. So milestone list is not to be received here. Then we need to have the resource calendars, because we are talking about resources. So all those resources which are available, what are their availability, that would be given in the resource calendar. Risk register is a very important input, because if there are any risks associated with the resources and we know it, they are listed in the risk register. If at all they are listed so far, they could be very useful. It might be input data for me that there is a risk in construction of wall in this area. Therefore, it should be done within these many days. Maybe the weather is changing, and if it is a snowfall and we cannot then construct the wall. So such kind of risk I must have to cater for calculation of the resources. Activity cost estimate will play a predominant role, because the money available to me will dictate me how much people and how much resources should I employ. Enterprise boundary factor and organization process assets will definitely be input. I will use the expert judgment. I will use the alternatives analysis. What all are the different alternatives? Like you see, I said I can employ 2 people to construct the wall or 8 people to construct the wall. Anything in between is acceptable. So I have reached that after a lot of analysis. It is just not out of the blue I have taken these figures. Then we can consult the published estimating data by the certain bodies like Pakistan Engineering Council or whatever kind of project you are doing. Some bodies must be publishing data standards, how many people can do how much job, that kind of data. So that can be used. We do the bottom up estimation. We do the calculation for each activity and then sum it all up for the whole project. This is called bottom up estimation. Then we may use project management software. You see, I am not against project management software, but I am just saying that if you don't know how to use it, you will misuse it. You just do not have to rely that project management software is available and that will do everything for me. You don't know project management and you expect project management software to know project management for you. That is criminal. You must know project management. You must know everything. Only then can you check the project management software. You can check yourself if you are putting in the right data or not. And the results being produced by the project management software could only be authentic if the data is correct. So garbage in, garbage out is the standard rule for anything to do with automation. So don't put the garbage in because you don't want the garbage out of it. You have to be careful. But project management software is a very good tool for assigning the activity resources. Activity resources requirements would be established. Resource breakdown structure is like a WBS, work breakdown structure, but here we do not have the organization head on top and people under it. We have resources on, we say project resources, and then under that we say human resource, machine resource, material resource, this resource, that resource, and then we further divide it We say, okay, under human resource, we have got carpenters, we have got masons, we have got this, we have got that. And under carpenters, I say we have got class A carpenters, class B carpenters, class C carpenters. Under class A carpenters, I have Mohammad Rashid, Salim Akhtar, and Flan. So that way, we can have a complete inventory of all the resources in this one diagram. And I can keep record of all these resources. So, and ultimately the project documents can be updated out of it. So this was the activity resource estimation. Then we have the duration estimation. And in duration estimation also, we will use similar kind of techniques. We do have the schedule management plan. We have the activity attributes and activity lists. We have the resource requirements we have just created and the resource calendars and the resource breakdown structure. We have the scope statement. We have the risk register, enterprise oriented factors and process assets. All the same things, except three things are added here. One is the activity resource requirement. One is the resource breakdown structure and one is the scope statement. These are the three things additional from the previous one. What are the tools? Naturally, expert judgment is a very good tool for estimating the duration of the activities. Then we have got three methods. One is the analogous estimating. Analogous is a historical kind of a thing. I have done this similar kind of job, and when I was doing a similar activity in my previous project, it took this much time. So it will probably, in association with that, this job will take approximately this much time. So analogous does not mean that if it took 3 days in the earlier project, it will again take 3 days here. I would relatively say it may take 4 days here, or it may take 2 days here, or maybe 3 days here. So whatever analogy I create from a previous experience is called analogous estimating. Then we have got parametric estimating. Parametric estimating, we do have a parameter known. One man can work these many hours a day. How many men can do this job? So you can simply multiply that factor with uh, the number of people are divided by number of people and find out how many people will be required for doing this job. 3-point estimate is more, calculation based statistical method in which we take opinion from a number of people about this activities estimate, and we ask them, what do you think, how much time this activity may take? So they all uh, mm, give you feedback with their from their experience. So the feedback would be very much varied, but it is generally a statistical rule that most of the people will have similar opinion, but some of the people will be very optimist and some of the people will be very pessimist. So we have to somehow take the view of the optimist and the pessimist and the most likely. So these are the three values: optimist, most likely, and pessimist. And somehow we calculate out of this through standard deviation by a weighted average method, giving 4 times more weightage to the most likely, because most likely are the maximum number of people who are of the similar opinion. But the pessimist and optimist may be alone, but still we don't want to ignore them because what they are saying may also be true. So taking their opinion, giving one weightage to optimist, one weightage to pessimist, and 4 times the weightage to the most likely, we take a weighted average. This is called 3-point estimate. Then we use a number of grouping decision making techniques, because people are, we are discussing with people, and we are ultimately we need to group to decide the actual estimates. So we will rely on the group decision making techniques also, and we also will include the reserves. But reserves should be appropriate. This should not be padding. Any additional time which is added without any reason is called padding, and which is criminal. But if you have specific reasons, providing that reason and then adding that much reserve is called reserve analysis. Resultantly, we'll have the activity duration estimate and the project document will be updated. Now, having all this data now ready with us, we are now in a position to develop the schedule. All the data we have so far, the duration activities listing, the sequences, the duration estimate, the resource estimate. This all has to be put together into a schedule, and this is where everything is put together. And you see the number of inputs is very high here. Let me explain this, and you will understand what I mean. You see, schedule management plan, we understand from where it is coming. It is coming from the plan schedule plan schedule management. Activity list and attribute are coming from defined activities. Schedule network diagram is coming from activity sequencing. Resource requirement, resource calendar, and resource breakdown structure are coming from resource estimation. A resource duration estimate is coming from duration estimate. Scope statement, naturally we need that. Risk register is useful to us in developing the schedule. Project staff assignment, the people who have been made available are by the HR, or who are assigned by the HR, who will be assigned by the HR, and enterprise non-reflector and process assets. We are more concerned about the tools and techniques here because the inputs are not very difficult. We can understand from where they are coming. But here, the first thing we need to do is a schedule network analysis. You see, the schedule, the network diagram you have created in sequencing did not have durations on it. The exercise we just did was actually the schedule network analysis, the forward path, the backward path. This was the schedule network analysis. After doing the network analysis, we found the critical path. This is the critical path method. This is a separate path. So actually what we have already done is schedule network analysis and critical path. Then there is one other method which is called critical chain method. This is a method which adds protection to the project. Critical chain method is, there is a saying, a chain is as strong as its weakest link. No matter how strong every link of the chain is, but one link only is the weakest one. If you load this chain, it is going to break from that very point. So we must understand what is the critical chain, what is the weakest link in our project. And to tell you the truth, critical path is the critical chain. All other activities are not going to break or harm our project. Critical path is going to harm our project. We want to protect our project against the delays. So how to build protection as if the critical path does not get delayed. Some people say we will add protection time to critical path. If the critical path is 23 days or 26 days, they say add 4 days to it. But you see, as soon as I add 4 days, we are already delayed by 4 days. Therefore, the critical chain does not accept that. Critical chain says that you must get time or save time from within the critical path. So just like I said, where do you crash the activities? So you crash the critical activities. Exactly the same way, we borrow the time from the critical activities and keep it as a buffer. We have the project buffer as protection for the critical path. Similarly, every other path, the other non-critical paths, can have their own protection built as feeding buffers. Those would be called feeding buffers. And lastly, we may also build some protection for the resources. One resource coming to my activity after completing another activity may get delayed. So how do I ensure, how do I protect that this person does not come delayed to me? So I would maybe call him 1 day earlier. So I have added a buffer of 1 day to that person, to that resource, and that's how that resource will be 1 day, that will be available 1 day earlier than required. So that way I can completely protect my project all kinds of delays. Then we have resource optimization techniques. In resource optimization, we have how to best utilize the resources. So we have got two methods of resource optimization. One is called resource leveling, and other is called resource smoothing. When you smoothen out your resources, like you see, no, first let me talk about the resource leveling. If there is a conflict of resources, if a person is required to be present in two activities at a time, he cannot be. So we have to amend the critical network diagram to change the dependency. If A and B activities are happening simultaneously and both require the same person, it is impossible. Therefore, I have to, make one out of these activities dependent on other, as if the resource will be employed on the other activity after it has been freed from the first activity. Therefore, these two activities will not start in parallel but in sequence. This is called resource leveling. Then the other thing is resource smoothing. How many people are required at any point in time in the project? One day I need 2 masons, other day I need 5 masons, another day I need 10 masons. So you see, this is a very ad hoc kind of a requirement. So if I somehow can smoothen out this requirement in such a way that I hire only 4 persons who will continuously stay with the project and do the job, and somehow I smoothen out the project, the critical path, etc., according to that. That way, I will not have to waste a lot of money. If I hire 10 people and they will keep sitting, dull, they will not be doing anything, only 2 or 3 people are working, then I'm paying extra to them. That would be too much cost on the project. So rather than doing that, I will smoothen out my project based on 4 resources, and that's how my project costing would be better controlled. Then I'll do some risk management. I will do some simulations, modeling techniques. I will see if this happens, what will I do? If that happens, what will I do? So I will create various scenarios and play around with them and amend my plan according to that. Then I'll also use the techniques which we have already learned, like leads and lags, applying leads and lags, compressing the schedule. There are 2 ways of compressing a schedule. You can crash the schedule or you can fast track the schedule. Crashing means by all, by hook or crook, I have to complete the project earlier. I have to crash the activities. Crashing means I have to spend a lot of money and resources and work overtime to complete the target. This will straight away mean a lot of money getting into the job, but the job may be completed in time. This is called crashing. Fast tracking is somehow trying to do activities in parallel, which are otherwise not in parallel. Like you see, if I can somehow change a finish to start relationship to start, I have increased the parallelism. By increasing the parallelism, I can do the job faster and save time. But although there is no upfront cost for that, but the problem is it makes the project more risky. So if I am ready to take risk, I will go for fast tracking. If I am ready to spend a lot of money, I am going for crashing. Crashing is always the last resort. And then there could be any other scheduling tools which we may use for this purpose. At the end of the day, we have the cost baseline. Cost baseline is when the schedule has been stabilized. Project schedule data, project calendars are established, project management plan and project documents are updated. Last but not the least is the control schedule process. And in control schedule process, we have now this is a control process, and as we have studied in scope, this is not very different from that. Here we have the project management plan, we have the project schedule against which we have to check. What we have to check is the project work performance data which has been generated from the execution. We have the project calendars, we have the schedule data and organizational process assets. We will review the performance of the project, of the work which has been accomplished, the schedule. So we have the schedule, we'll compare the schedule and project management plan with the work performance data we have received, we'll do the analysis and ultimately be able to converted into work performance information. We will also be developing the forecasts, and these forecasts will also supplement the work performance information. Both of these things will be sent back to monitor and control project work. If there is a change request, that will be sent to integrated change control. Here we'll use the same tools for making any changes to the schedule. We may require the project management software. We may need the resource optimization techniques, modeling techniques, leads and lags, schedule compression, other scheduling tools. Almost all those things we have already discussed. And resultantly, the project management plan, project documents, and organization process assets can be updated. So this brings us to the end of schedule. You can review these slides and you can see there are a number of definitions given down there. So that is not really very difficult to understand, but you can, if you have any doubts, then we can fix that. Before we can leave, I would like to give you your problem, which you have to solve. Okay, note down this data. I think this is enough. The duration I have written in the end. Just a minute. These are the durations. These are the durations. These are the durations. So these are the durations. A, B, and C has no predecessor. 5, 6, and 7 days are the durations of A, B, C respectively. D is has a predecessor A. Relationship is finished to start. Duration is 8. E has two predecessors B and D. Both are finished to start. The durations are 3 and 2 respectively. F has a predecessor C. Finish to start relationship 7 days. Duration of F. G has two predecessors. Sorry. Just a minute. G's duration is 7 days. E's duration is 3 days. Okay. D and E are the predecessors of G. D is start to start and E is finish to start. F is a predecessor of H. H duration is 7 and Fs plus 2. G, anything which is not clear? Note down this data.
You have cancelled the duration for G to E.
No, actually, G duration is for G, not D and E.
Okay.
That's why I have deleted it. E is 3 days. F is 7 days.
Okay.
A is 5 days. B is 6 days. C is 7 days. D is 8 days. E is 3 days. F 7. G 7 and H 7. When you're noted, please let me know.
Done, sir.
Everybody?
Noted, sir.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Okay. So this much is for the schedule. Schedule we have done. Only in the next lecture we are going to solve this question. We'll start the cost chapter. Cost chapter will again take 2 more days. Tomorrow and day after tomorrow. I hope we'll be able to complete it by day after tomorrow. And then it will be a smooth sailing. Almost one chapter per day. We'll complete the rest of it. So you may have your questions and everything. We can keep discussing them and even take few days more to sum up everything. So any questions so far?
It's clear, sir.
Okay, I think we should call it a day then. Thank you very much for joining me and see you tomorrow then. Thank you very much and take care. Khudafez.
Okay.